We are live. Yes. Welcome in, guys. Happy Sunday. Happy game day. Happy National Tight Ends Day. Yes. Or you can just call it Happy National Travis Kelce Day. That works just as well. How are you guys? It is Sunday. It is game day. I'm liking today's slate of games. I really am. Excuse me. I've had a wild morning, guys. Trying to pull something up. I don't care for fantasy rankings. I don't know why that's popping up on my feed, but nonetheless, a lot of good games today. The Sunday night football game is the one I'm looking forward to the most. Actually, more than the Chiefs and Chargers game. I think the Chiefs Chargers game is going to be the second best game of the day. But you got a lot of great matchups. Which one did I say? It was Baltimore and Detroit. That is going to be a really good one today. I'm excited for that one. I actually think Pittsburgh and LA, I think that'll be more exciting than some people think. Buffalo, New England, that one I don't think is going to be a good game, but I think there's a big curiosity factor in that one because of the way the Patriots are playing lately and the report that just came out that Belichick is he signed for like 2 more years or something. All right, Sebastian, look at this. We're shouting out spots here. Hello from Germany. And hello from Indianapolis. Shout outs to Germany and Indianapolis. Appreciate you guys. What time is it in Germany, Sebastian? I always ask this when people comment and say they're from wherever. I mean, you still have a few hours left before the game. You guys overseas, man, you guys are always, you guys are losing sleep to tune into the Chiefs, which, 99% of the time is worth it. Blake says McCall gets a touchdown. Man, I don't know. That's a hard one. If you're doing an in-game parlay of any sort, I would imagine that one is pretty high up there. Anna says Shawnee, Kansas. Yeah, I've been there a time or two. Just a time or two. How do you guys feel about today's game? I like today's game. I think I will say this. I do think today is going to be the toughest test for the defense to date. I think the Chiefs will allow more than 20, 21 points. They've never allowed more than 21 points in a game. Now, the game where they allowed 21 points was the Week 1 game against Detroit. And in that one, obviously, that includes the pick 6. So the defense was only responsible for 2 of those 3 touchdowns in that game. So in general, the Chiefs defense has been very strong. They've been very stout. They've been pretty hard to stop. The pass rush, in terms of overall sack production, not the best, but man, they find ways to get after the quarterback. Red zone defense, one of the best in the NFL. The Chiefs secondary is probably top 5, maybe even the best in the NFL. And I will say this, statistically speaking, that does not back up the idea that the Chiefs have the best secondary in the NFL. But the things that they are doing on the field, and I think Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels went over this, they showed a few replays where the defensive backs, especially the safeties for the Chiefs, Justin Reed and Brian Cook, they do a really good job of scanning the field, looking at the receivers that are coming towards them, and they find a way to track which direction they're going, and they follow that track, not allowing the deep pass to happen there. And that immediately turns into double coverage. That's really a big part of a safety. I know on the New Heights podcast with the Kelce brothers, they did a podcast where they were just kind of having fun because there were a lot of Swifties, a lot of new football watchers who were tuning in, and they were asking simple football questions like, what is a safety? And I never thought of it this way, but Jason Kelce had a really good description for it. And he said, that is your last line of defense there. And the Chiefs' last line of defense has done a really good job this season. And I mentioned Cook and Reed. I didn't mention Mike Edwards, who's also done a really good job in rotation with this backfield, this defensive backfield. What they do is they take away those big play passes. That's something Kansas City has kind of lived on for a few years, especially when Tyreek Hill was in Kansas City. With Mecole Hardman coming back, can they bring some of that back? That remains to be seen. But the reason I bring that up and make a big deal about it for today is that Justin Herbert loves doing those kinds of things. He loves throwing the ball down the field. You have Keenan Allen, who is one of the better receivers in the NFL, has been very good for a very long time. He's not someone you think of when you think of the best wide receiver or maybe even top 5 wide receivers. And I think it has to do with the location he's at. He's played with so many different quarterbacks over the years, and I think that plays a part in it. But in general, I think this is one of those tests right there for the Chiefs defense. How do they try to work against Justin Herbert and this pretty solid pass offense that the Chargers have? I think the Chiefs defense, it's going to be one of those games where I think the Chiefs defense will make some mistakes, but they'll also pull away and make some big plays in this one. That's how I feel about that. They're getting a little better with the turnovers. That was my only complaint with this defense from about a couple of weeks ago, and they have gotten better about that as the weeks have gone on. I will say that the offense, I think you got to go. Like it's go time. You know, I don't know who if you want to rank the 5 wide receivers on this team, or 7, however many the Chiefs have, obviously not all of them play. I don't know how you would rank them 1 through 7. Obviously, Rashee Rice is 1, but after that, man, who the hell knows? I would be inclined to put Justin Watson at 2 because his yard per catch average is very high, almost 22 yards per catch. When you have guys like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore who aren't really living up to the expectations from everyone's expectation, not just from fans, but from player, team, coaches as well. It definitely needs to be better. Kyle says, do you think if we win this game, we clinch the division before Halloween? I don't know about clinching the division before Halloween. That might be too much, but it's one of those, like, you unofficially clinch the division. Like, hold on. Since we're discussing this, so I want to make a point about this. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me zoom in a bit here. Okay, this is actually perfect. Let me just screen share this, and let's chat about what. That's not what I wanted. That is what I wanted. Look at this. Okay, this is your division here. All right. Remember last year? Oh, the mighty AFC West. They're stepping up. They're going to give the Chiefs a hard time. Remember that Week 5 game against the Raiders, the one where Devontae Adams shoved that cameraman on his way to the tunnel. That game right there where the Chiefs were losing 17-0 and they came back and won because it's the Raiders. That's just the way things work for the Raiders. If the Chiefs were to lose that game, and keep in mind, that was a Week 5 game, so very early in the season. If the Chiefs were to lose that game, they still would have been first place in the AFC West that time. The reason I make a big deal about that is because we heard all this talk about how the Chiefs are going to be challenged in the division, yet a loss within the division in Week 5 would have still had them in sole possession of first place. By the way, remember 6 weeks ago when the Raiders were 1-0 and everyone else was 0-1 in the division? Raiders fans had a parade because, you know, that's what you do if you're a Raiders fan. You have your Super Bowl parade in Week 1. That is the Raiders Super Bowl this year, is a Week 1 sole possession ownership of first place in the division. If you beat the Chargers and you beat the Broncos the following week, you're going to be 7-1, and you're going to be, 3-0 in the division because you have yet to play the Raiders twice. You'll play the Chargers later in the season. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just hard to – so to answer your question, no, the Chiefs are not going to clinch the division, but I don't know anyone has any team ever clinched the division that early? No, but it's one of those, like, you unofficially just won the division. You basically, like, the next 2 games can pretty much set the tone. Like, if you're the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, and you have serious aspirations of making it to the playoffs, you're going to do it through the wild card round the next 2 weeks. By the way, since we're on the subject talking about, you know, trying to win the division, but obviously that's not the standard anymore in Kansas City. It's nice when you can do that because you can, from a fan standpoint, you get to brag about that kind of thing. But I'm looking at the schedule here. Let me zoom in on this a tiny bit so I can show you guys because every year, obviously the Chiefs have a first place schedule because they always finish in first place in their division. I want to show you guys something that a lot of people need to be aware of here because you want to talk about Kansas City sliding through, blah, 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 or having a difficult schedule. Look at this right here, okay? So you got these 3 games right here. Those will be, obviously, the toughest one is going to be Miami. You have your bye week. You got Philadelphia at home. Going to be a challenging one. But after that, look at week 12. You've got the Las Vegas Raiders. They're awful. You have the Green Bay Packers. They're inconsistent. The Buffalo Bills, they're probably the best remaining in this schedule. But even they just had a low-scoring win. You want to talk about Kansas City's recent lack of offense? Buffalo just barely skated by the Giants. And if the Giants kick 2 field goals out to 1, they probably win that game. The Patriots, they're a disaster. The Raiders, second time playing the Raiders, they're a disaster. Cincinnati's offense is awful. They've only had 1 good game, and that was against the Cardinals. I think all of us watching together could go score 40 points on the Cardinals. So that's nothing impressive. Cincinnati's offense has been terrible all year. Here's the point I'm trying to make. You have the Raiders, you have the Packers, you have the Patriots, you have the Raiders again, and you have the Bengals. You have 5 games from weeks 12 through 17 remaining on your schedule. This is going to be a really good stretch of football right here for the Chiefs defense. It's really going to be, and it's going to give them a good shot at trying to win the conference, preferably before that January 7th game. You never know if that's going to be a Saturday game because the Chiefs in the last couple of years, when they have the first 2 years, the Chiefs have the NFL's had the Saturday flex schedule. The Chiefs have been flex on both of those. So I'm really liking the schedule, the way it's shaping out. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Will Compton's a clown, man. I mean, I thought Sam and Emmanuel Acho were clowns. Will Compton makes Sam and Emmanuel Acho look like Harvard Rhodes Scholars. They really do. Or he really does to them. Joey says, think the Chiefs trade for another wide receiver, or you think they feel comfortable with who they have now with McCall coming back? I don't think they feel comfortable completely with everyone, even with McCall Hardman. I think the Chiefs are going to still be very vigilant and keep looking out for other moves in the NFL or maybe other situations where a wide receiver might want out. There's no way the Chiefs can be complacent with what they have. There's just no way. I would not feel very confident about a Super Bowl run with this crew unless they step it up in the rest. I was going to say the second half of the season, but we're not quite there yet. They got to step it up, man. This is they have the skill set for it. I think if you want to talk about receiver skill sets across the NFL, I think the Chiefs might have one of the best. But obviously, that's talking about games on paper, and that's not how games are won or lost. So, I think they might be targeting another one. Do they trade for another one, which is your specific question, Joey? I don't know. They didn't give up anything almost to get McCall Hardman, so they kind of still have some draft capital to work with. It's probably one of the better things on their defense, Scott. I mean, their defense. Last week, the Chiefs played the worst defense in the NFL. Now they're playing the second worst defense in the NFL. Listen, the Chiefs do a good job of moving the football, but scoring-wise, do they struggle? Yes, but they're also top 10 in the NFL in scoring. So it's a little weird deal there how that all works. Yeah, I agree with you, bud, 100%. Got to score touchdowns here. I think that was a key reason why they lost in week 1. Listen, you're going to kick a couple field goals. I mean, for as good as the Chiefs offense is, they move the football so much. Yeah, you're going to probably settle for a field goal or two in some games, but in some of those tight ones right there, it's just you got to get touchdowns. we all know what happened in that game with the drops and whatnot. All right, I'll read a couple more here, and then I got to run. Charles in charge Ominihu. Is that the nickname for him? In charge. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he's going to step up and make some plays. Yeah. By the way, a lot of people keep asking about Frank Clark. I don't know what's going on with that. Supposedly, there was a report out there that he's going to go in for a physical on Thursday. The league is required to report when free agents are in the building for a physical, and that never happened. So, yeah, I'm just not sure what exactly happens with that. Charles Ominihu, how much does he play in this one? He is expected to play, as is McCole Hardman, but I just don't know exactly how much he'll be used. I'm very curious to see how that goes because Mike Dan has been playing very well. Karlaftis statistically does not thrive, but does a lot of good things that does not show up on the stat sheet. Paul says the NFL doesn't want to run away division flags, foul on your Chiefs today. Supposedly, Paul, the flags don't go against the Chiefs. If you ask those who are in the court of public opinion. Okay, this is the last one here. If you've already answered this, Shorty, but will we see Hardman back today? He is expected to play today. Now, how many snaps does he play today? That we don't know. Listen, I remember Christian McCaffrey when he signed with he got traded to the 49ers last year, 2 days before playing the Chiefs. He did play a significant amount. McCole Hardman is a guy who is very familiar with this Chiefs offense, has played in it for several years. Yeah, sure, there are going to be some differences with Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy, of course. McCole Hardman was not here when Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator. So there might be some adjusting involved there, and I think he was able. I mean, I don't know if he was able, but I think the team has worked on that with him the last few days. I'm sure. I'm sure that's been a thing in the last couple of days since he came back. But I do expect him to come back and play in this game for sure. My over/under on this one, 10.5 snaps. I would take the under. I would, but now I'm talking offensive snaps. See, because Nicholas just said punt returner, kick returner. Yeah, I think if Montrell Washington is now on the practice squad, which he was waived and then was brought back on the practice squad. But if you're going to take out the guy who's taking care of return duties, then Hardman 1,000% has to be the guy. If it's not Hardman, it's got to be Kadarius Toney. It's got to be one of those two guys. All right, I am out. I'll be back at halftime. We will recap the first half, hopefully a good first half, and then we will do a live stream after the game. That'll be the Chiefs Zone podcast. We will recap the Chiefs and the Chargers game. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday morning. I will talk to you all later. Take care.